Imagine waking up to a world on the brink, news feeds filled with chaos, explosions in distant cities, and world leaders delivering grave warnings. This isn't a movie, it's the reality we face on June 18, 2025. Could World War III start tomorrow? The world is a powder keg, packed with tension and old rivalries. In the Middle East, Israel and Iran are trading strikes. Israeli jets hit Iranian nuclear sites, Iran fires missiles at Tel Aviv. Each side threatens more destruction, raising the stakes for everyone. A Russian general has already declared that World War III has begun. These aren't distant problems, they're sparks near the fuse. In Eastern Europe, the war in Ukraine drags on, drawing in major powers. Russia's recent attack on a Boeing facility in Kyiv was a direct message to the West. This blurs the line between regional conflict and global confrontation. Trouble in one country can pull in others, like a whirlpool dragging everything down. The danger is that these separate fires could merge into one giant inferno. A Middle East conflict could pull in the US and its allies. Escalation in Ukraine could trigger a NATO-Russia clash. And in the background, China and Taiwan remain a flashpoint. The world is more connected than ever. Trouble spreads fast. It's a complex web of alliances and threats. Understanding this landscape is the first step to navigating the dangers ahead. The spark is out there. The question is, will it ignite the powder keg? World wars don't erupt overnight. They start with a single domino. Ukraine began as a regional conflict, but now it's a battleground for global powers. Russia on one side, Ukraine backed by NATO. Every weapon and dollar sent raises the stakes. In the Middle East, Israel and Iran's strikes risk drawing in their powerful allies, US for Israel, Russia and China for Iran. If these friends step in, a local war could become a global one. In Asia, China's ambitions over Taiwan threaten to trigger direct US involvement. A Chinese invasion could instantly pit the world's largest militaries against each other. The domino effect is real. Cyber attacks, blockades, and alliances can turn sparks into wildfires. Treaties, economic ties, and old grudges link every crisis. A small fire in one corner can set the whole forest ablaze. This is how a regional crisis becomes a global catastrophe. The world is interconnected. One misstep can change everything. Understanding these links is crucial to preventing disaster. The first domino is already wobbling. If World War III erupts, it won't be countries fighting alone, it'll be alliances. NATO, led by the US, includes the UK, France, Germany, and more. An attack on one is an attack on all. If Russia strikes a NATO country, the entire alliance must respond. On the other side, BRICS, Russia, China, India, and others, are uniting to challenge Western dominance. In a global conflict, Russia and China would likely lead this bloc, pooling military and economic power. Many nations would be forced to choose sides or risk being caught in the crossfire. Hybrid warfare would dominate, not just soldiers and tanks but economic pressure, propaganda, and cyber attacks. The Russian strike on Boeing in Ukraine shows that everything is a target: supply chains, markets, even public opinion. The front line is everywhere, from battlefields to boardrooms. Neutrality would be nearly impossible. The world map would become a patchwork of shifting allegiances. In modern war, the battlefield is global and total. The stakes have never been higher. The next world war would be fought with weapons beyond imagination. Drones already dominate battlefields, cheap, smart, and deadly. In a full-scale war, AI-coordinated drone swarms could overwhelm defenses. Artificial intelligence would control everything from missile defense to strategy, making split-second decisions. The side with the smarter AI could have a decisive edge, but a single AI mistake could trigger catastrophe. Space would become a battlefield. Satellites targeted to blind enemies, crippling communications and navigation. Losing satellites would cause chaos for both military and civilian life. Biological weapons are another threat. Engineered viruses could spread silently, causing panic and devastation. The arsenal of tomorrow isn't just about bigger bombs, it's about smarter, more insidious ways to wage war. Every system, financial, industrial, digital, could be a target. The line between military and civilian would blur. The future of warfare is everywhere and nowhere is safe. The rules of war are being rewritten. The first shots of World War III may be fired in cyberspace, not on battlefields. Cyber warfare can cripple power grids, banking systems, and communications without a single missile launched. AI-powered malware could adapt and strike faster than any human hacker. Deepfakes could create fake declarations of war, blurring reality and triggering chaos. The goal: paralyze a nation before physical fighting even begins. Shutting down infrastructure, contaminating water, or crashing markets could break a society's will to fight. In this digital war, everyone is a target. There are no true civilians. How do you respond to a massive cyber attack? Is it an act of war? One miscalculation could escalate code into bombs. The digital battlefield is everywhere and the consequences are global. In the age of cyber warfare, uncertainty is the deadliest weapon. Nothing threatens civilization like the nuclear bomb. For decades, mutually assured destruction, MAD, has kept superpowers in check. But that balance is fragile, and recent events show the nuclear threat is real. Russia's nuclear posturing in Ukraine and Israel's strikes on Iran's nuclear sites have eroded old taboos. In a crisis, a desperate leader might see nuclear weapons as their only option. A single bomb vaporizes everything at ground zero, unleashes deadly radiation, and spreads fallout for miles. A full-scale exchange would be an extinction-level event. Thousands of warheads, cities destroyed, and a nuclear winter blocking out the sun. Crops would fail, ecosystems would collapse, and survivors would face starvation in a radioactive wasteland. The horror doesn't end with the blast, it lingers for generations. The more leaders talk about using nukes, the more thinkable the unthinkable becomes. Nuclear war is unwinnable, but the risk is rising. This is the ultimate stake in any world war. The future of humanity hangs in the balance. Imagine the aftermath. The war is over, but the world is shattered. Even without nukes, the global economy would collapse, trade halted, supply chains broken, banks failed. Famine would follow. Modern agriculture depends on global systems now destroyed. Cities would become death traps as food runs out. Starvation and disease would claim millions, maybe billions. Refugees would flood borders searching for survival, sparking new conflicts over scarce resources. In a nuclear war, the devastation would be even worse. Nuclear winter, radiation, and a world plunged into darkness. Governments would fall, law and order would vanish. Survivors would form small, desperate groups, fighting for food and shelter. The knowledge and culture of civilization could be lost forever. It would be a reset to a more primitive, brutal existence. The scars of war would last for generations. The world we know would be gone. Only the strongest and luckiest would endure. The cost of global war is almost unimaginable. In a post-war world, survival would depend on ancient skills. Finding water, growing food, building shelter. Modern jobs would be useless. The basics would matter most. Community would be essential. Lone survivors wouldn't last. Small groups would pool skills, scavenging medicine, water purification. Trust and cooperation would be the new currency. The psychological toll would be immense, lost trauma and the struggle to maintain hope. Art, music, and storytelling might become lifelines for the human spirit. Humanity has survived disasters before. Ice ages, plagues, collapse. Scattered pockets of survivors would rebuild, learning from the past. The memory of the Great War would be a warning for generations. The challenge: build a new civilization that avoids old mistakes. The fight for survival would be both physical and spiritual. Even in darkness, the human spirit endures. The future would depend on resilience, cooperation, and hope. The lesson: never let it happen again. The future isn't set in stone. World War III is a warning, not a certainty. We stand at a crossroads, and the choices we make now matter. Leaders can choose diplomacy over threats, conversation over confrontation. International organizations exist to resolve disputes with words, not weapons. Arms control treaties, old and new, are vital, covering nukes, cyber weapons, and AI. Trust, verification, and open communication are hard but necessary. As individuals, we must stay informed, resist propaganda, and support peace. We can demand leaders who choose cooperation over conflict. The challenges we face, climate change, pandemics, require global unity. The human spirit is capable of compassion and creativity. Let's use it to build a better world, not better weapons. The path to war is easy. The path to peace takes courage. The choice is ours, starting today.